Hey, what's up, y'all?
There's nothing better than this
Alpha Affirmations. Check out his page on YouTube, man.
Than breaking every resistance. Than always pushing forward still. This is what the Spirit wants.
Yeah. Hey, man, it's Robert Prash, King of Comebacks, Creating Greatness Podcast. You know, we're here doing another one. We actually had one scheduled with the fellas today. My brother and Tony Spencer, my boy, but having some technical difficulties on one of their ends, man. So I'm going to go ahead and hit you with it. Just me. Hey, how you doing? And so, first of all, we're going to talk about traveling, man. You know, I love traveling. We're going to talk about traveling. One of the very most important things to me about traveling, for me, was that I learned things that I would never learn had I stayed in New Jersey. I mean, things about different cultures, different ways of life, and becoming open-minded to them, and also reminding myself that my way is not the only way. Secondarily, you know, I took my kids with me, my whole family's with me. I'm a family man. I believe in the importance of family. Yes, I do, sir. And my kids become totally different beings, man, from when I took them from New Jersey to all these different places that we went to, you know, Costa Rica, Jamaica, Mexico, all over the states, Hawaii and Alaska. And here recently, we finally made it down to the Florida Keys, man. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely my favorite vacation that I've ever went on. And I'll shout out the place because it was absolutely phenomenal. It was called Tranquility Bay in Marathon Key, and we had an absolute wonderful time. So as I scroll on down to where I wanted to start about the Florida Keys and the wonderful things there, I started saying this thing over and over again. Whenever I go to places where I perceive the people to have money, more money than me, or maybe had money their entire life and are used to it, you know, and maybe take things a little bit for granted, and also maybe sometimes giving me in mind a little bit of a dismissive sort of glance and all like that. And I always say this on my reels. Check me out, Can't Come Back with 2Ks at the end on Facebook, and I'm going to say it now. We out here, man. We out here. Yeah, that's right. You know, because we worked hard to get here, man. In fact, we didn't know that y'all had this, man. Had we known this, we might have worked a little harder, man. I'm here to tell you, man, there is levels of life that we didn't even know exist. And then I'm sure that there are levels beyond that. But this is what I got to say to you, rich people. We out here, man. We out. We're going to be respectful. We're going to be calm. We're going to be confident. We're going to be relaxed. You know, we're not going to blow up the spot. We're not going to destroy your way of life. We're not going to pollute it or infect it with negativity. We're here to add. We're here to add. You know, like I always say when I'm coming into community, you know, my boys are athletic. You know, I'm a volunteer. My wife's a healthcare worker, man. You know, we're here to add to it. And when we get to these places of life, we're here to add enjoyment. You know, we're not going to degrade or take away from, you know, but yes, we out here, man. We out here. We're going to continue to be out here. We're going to continue to explore different ways of life. We're going to continue to explore different levels of life by continuous improvement and steady improvement and getting to that next level, man. That way we can experience what y'all have been trying to keep secret. We out here, man. So while I was out there, you know, wifey's birthday, we doing it big. And one of the things that we like to do a lot of times when we're in upscale places is do a couples massage. You know, sometimes, man, you know, like I specifically remember in Jamaica with the CBD oil that they had that they used, man, you walk out of there feeling like a brand new man and woman. And me and my wife talked about that. So we always like to try that couples massage, spending time together, but also in a relaxation state and getting some things worked out. You know, we work hard in the gym and all like that. So massage is definitely something that I believe to be beneficial, just from the after effects that I've had from a good massage. Although you have to be careful because a bad one can jam you up a little bit. But so we did this and paid an exorbitant amount of money for it. And when I went and now, so I want to remind people an age-old lesson, you know, something that I have to remind myself on a day-to-day basis, you know, and I want to sort of admit to people that it's absolutely normal. When we view folks, we judge them. We judge them without even thinking. You may have made several assumptions or judgments about an individual within a second of seeing them. And I think it's okay. What I think is not okay to believe that your judgment is accurate or your judgment's correct and get too far in that rabbit hole, because oftentimes you're absolutely wrong. Sure, we can use our intelligence to navigate society by making judgments. So the judgment system as a whole is beneficial. You can look at folks and very quickly decide, I don't want to be part of that circle. I don't want to involve myself with that circle. But to really go down the rabbit hole of negativity and judgment is just not beneficial. So really the immediate judgment is necessary. But there are certain judgments, like the one that I had here, they're absolutely false. It's called ageism. I seen an older woman come to do the massage, and I don't mean like 50 or 60. I mean, I'm 43 myself. I mean, like, I believe that this woman was well into her 70s, if not 80s. And at the same time, still take it for what it's worth. Each case is circumstantial, although generalizations can be made. Generalizations can be made about any group of people, older people, people from different ethnicities, people from different religions. There are generalizations that can be made, and for the most part may be accurate. But one thing that we have to remember is every single case is circumstantial. It's why we don't talk about people in their relationships, because nobody knows what's going on between two people but those two people. And while that may not work for you and yours, it may work for them. So each case is circumstantial, and it is of the most benefit to take each case in life on every aspect in not judging a book by its cover, and realizing that if it does fit generalizations or groups, to understand that those assumptions and generalizations may not be correct for this particular instance. So that's exactly what happened, man. Without even thinking about it, I'm already going in my mind like, oh man, all this money we spent, and this elderly woman. I'm sorry, no disrespect. Man, but it's too late. I cannot, other than being extremely rude, and then they also have a policy that you're paying for it anyway, so you might as well go through with it. And let me tell you something. It was a really wonderful massage. It was really great. And the person did an absolutely amazing job. And it just reminds me, and it's nice to get cemented in a belief, reminded of something that you know so well. We've been hearing it throughout the ages. Never judge a book by its cover. But we still do. And I'm speaking probably for everybody there. I think that people do this. And I just think that the initial judgment is necessary to eliminate things that may be detrimental to the well-being of you and yours. But to go down further with it and believe it to be absolute truth, I think is false. So, you hear these age-old adages, and the ones that have stuck around for all time are the ones that really mean the most. You are what you eat. Absolutely. Scientifically a fact. What goes around comes around. Absolutely a universal law of karma, and this one, never judge a book by its cover. It's absolutely true. And that's why it's still being said to this day. And so we'll move on to self-improvement. Just wanted to tell you guys, if you can get an opportunity down to Florida Keys, we talk about travel. We talk about the benefits of travel. We talk about how it can really open your mind and give you a well-balanced education. So I wanted to talk about that. And also, telling people about the Florida Keys. Please, if you visit, be careful, keep it safe, keep it fun, keep it light. Don't go down there wildly trying to party and mess up that beautiful, wonderful environment. And also, just a check for you there. The cops are insane when you're driving down that one-way stretch of road through the Keys. There are state troopers literally, I would say, every few miles. So just something to check in about. So after we got back from vacation, I'm in the program, Spiritual Warriors. I dropped a little reel about that. Facebook can't come back to 2Ks at the end, just how it's applied on the screen there, and talked about the graduation day. And man, a couple guys graduated, and that's excellent. We're certainly applauding and encouraging and celebrating anyone who's making it to that next level of life. Anybody who pushed through a hard period and got through and then experienced some success. Anybody that just graduated a class, graduated school, got a promotion at work, just got a new job, all these accomplishments. It's for us to applaud and encourage, and not try to dismiss or diminish or minimize or hate on or view with envy or nothing like this. Remember, if your neighbor's doing well, you're going to be doing well too. And if guys in prison are actually getting rehabilitated and coming back into your communities, whether you like it or not, that is happening. Those guys coming out with some things under their belt that could improve their state of mind, their state of their body, and the state of their spirit, and then improve that of those around them. That's something that we need to applaud and encourage anybody from anywhere, no matter how low they've been or what they've done. You can improve from there in the same aspect as no matter how high you get and how far you have climbed, there's always somewhere to go from there. There's always something more, and you can use those mountains you climb as stepping stones to your next major accomplishment, where you could use them to sit and relax and drift on into mediocrity. You might have an okay life, man, but we're looking for an impactful life. We're looking for an amazing life. We're looking for a life that has lived itself to the fullest. That way, when we lay on that bed and perish, we are going with peace, enjoyment, and contentment that we've done it all. We put everything we have, we put it all on the field, so to speak. When you play in athletics, you leave it all out on the field, man. When you're done, you should be exhausted. And, that's the way I do when I go into the gym. I try to put it all on the line. When I walk out of it, I'm really literally feeling a crash. That's why it's nice to have a few tips and tricks to refuel, and we get into that later. So I'm in there, and the first thing I want to say is this gentleman that runs a different program in there, a pre-release program, was talking about the Bible and Jesus. It is a faith-based program, and he was talking about how Jesus was speaking, and that Jesus was basically saying, and forgive my ignorance here, but what he was saying, that being a man or being a human and being a king or a queen is counted by your service to others. By being of service, you are a leader. I think it was called a leader of servitude. And it was really amazing concept, because I feel like obviously the church at that time, and then religion sense, has really become self-serving. And not all, and I'm not criticizing or throwing shots at anyone's particular religion. I just feel as a whole, a lot of religions have become self-serving or have clouded the true teachings of their holy texts. And this was one of those examples. And then he was also saying that something that we talk about here a lot on Creating Greatness is like, when you view the world, when you view recent events, when you view maybe people around where you live or in other places, in other countries, in other states, and you see some of the awful, terrible things that have happened, that are happening now, and have happened all throughout time, all throughout history, you could certainly get paralyzed in fear or anxiety. It's something that I don't allow myself to become frozen in it, but it certainly gives me this initial reaction to just, oh my God, right? Does anyone else have this feeling? So what he was saying is to prepare, not what if this happens, what if that happens, because that's the thing that could get you frozen. What if, and instead flip it to even if, not what if this happens, what if that happens. Flip it to even if this happens, I'm going to be this person. Even if that happens, I'm going to be in a position to navigate it successfully, to face adversity head on and deal with it, because I'm in the ultimate physical shape, mental shape, and spiritually sound. And it reminds me of something that my wife said to me in the car the other day. Shout out to my wife, amazing human, has overcome so much in her life and come to a point of emotional stability, spiritual soundness, and financial wellness that we've never seen as children growing up. So big shout out to her. And what she said, we were just talking about the recent struggles. If you've been listening to Creating Greatness, then you know that there have definitely been my share of struggles over the last few weeks. And she was saying, even when my mental stability fluctuates when I'm going through things like anxiety, depression, stress, whatever. She goes, I'm always going to show up for me and mine. It's that relentless tenacity that I'm never going to not show up for me and my children. And that's really important on speaking on how to build that, which you would never not show up for. And a lot of people don't show up, or they don't have that relentlessness when they're going through things because they haven't built that solid foundation, man. For us, it's family, but we have to build upon our own value and our own worth first. You have to become relentless for yourself, man. You have to show up for yourself. And then maybe you create that family if that's your journey. If not, then that's also fine. But if you don't create that feeling of self-love, that feeling of self-worth, then you're never going to be relentless in your own life. You're never going to continually show up. Whenever you get jabbed, shot, or thrown down and life hits you, you might take a little bit longer than necessary to recoup because you're only showing up for yourself. But if you value yourself, if you love yourself, if you really know how fucking amazing you are and the things that you can accomplish in this world, you're going to show up, man. And you're going to be relentless in your own life, and you're going to build that foundation faster than anybody. I really thought that was important. And it also relates to something that me and the guys were talking about. They were talking about Roosevelt and how he was a hunter and a fisher and did a speech with a bullet and all these things. And one of the things that he said was that champions are not made in the ring, and I thought that was just really amazing analogy. And it goes back to being relentless. It goes back to putting in the work every day. It goes back to even if, not what if, but even if this happens, I'm going to be here, because it's about consistently day to day putting in that work, man. And then you're made a champion in the ring when that opportunity strikes. But the man who was not preparing, when that opportunity, when that small gap opens up, by the time, if you're just sitting waiting for an opportunity to happen, you're sitting, you're waiting, nothing's happened. And then you see the opportunity. By the time you get up off of your ass, the person that's training and preparing every single day is going to be through and take your opportunity. So it speaks to relentlessly focus on self-improvement, relentlessly build your foundation. That way you always show up for them and you always show up for yourself. And that way that preparation, that work, it comes into play when you need instinct or you need reflexes, because you're going to fall back on all those things. When that opportunity presents itself, you're going to strike while the iron's hot. You're not going to be just getting up as multiple people are striking. The people that were preparing and mentally working and physically working and doing the spiritual work, they're going to be the ones that get through. So even if you're not seeing opportunities in your life, don't get lax. Let's continue to be relentless. Let's continue to look for those opportunities, man. So, and then on the flip side of that, that's another thing I was talking about, and it goes deep. It goes deep. I put it very simply as bare minimums. I'm sorry if you're a bare minimum kind of person. This time I'm talking to you. I get very frustrated. I used to get frustrated in my work when I worked. I'd go into the job, and yes, people were making minimum wage or barely above that, and they had the bare minimum paycheck and then the bare minimum mentality. Now, it is my belief that once you have to change your mentality first before your paycheck changes. Because I can tell you from experience two different sides of this coin. When I was living foul, before I made my mental shift through the holy trinity of spiritual emotional wellness, prayer, meditation, and yoga, I had that bare minimum mentality. I would go to work. If I was making $15 an hour, I'm doing $15 worth of work. And where I stayed was in a bare minimum car, in a bare minimum house, in a bare minimum state of being, meaning I wasn't very happy. I wasn't very mentally sharp. I wasn't very physically in shape. And I didn't have a partner to share my life with. I was pretty much empty inside, hence all the drugs and drinking. So you see how it very quickly becomes a vicious cycle. I'm not saying all bare minimum people are apt to do the things I did. That there's a lot of other things that go in that scenario, but are you really winning? Are you really happy? And so I go to a job years later after I made that mental shift, once again, through the holy trinity of spiritual and emotional wellness, prayer, yoga, and meditation. And I was making $11 an hour. And I go, I'm doing this for me. I'm putting in this work because I want people to know the kind of person that I am. I don't care about the paycheck. I cared about the paycheck, but what I cared more about was pride. And, they say pride is a bad thing. Pride's an ego. But I believe that a little bit of ego is good. It gives you confidence. A little bit of pride is good. It gives you work ethic. And that's the work ethic that I had that watched me proceed through that entire warehouse and become the boss. And I did that by doing more than I was getting compensated for. And that's one of the laws, I believe, in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. One of the very first laws that he speaks about there is please forgive me if I'm wrong, because I believe also Earl Nightingale said that. There's a couple guys that were saying it back in those days that, the man that does more than he's compensated for will soon be compensated for more than he does. And that's certainly true in my life, man. So after we were talking about Roosevelt, champions aren't made in the ring. As it relates to opportunity, you build, you prepare, you work. When opportunity presents itself, you're absolutely ready for it. And it also goes to say you may create opportunity with that sort of work ethic. It was a book called Leaders of Process, something along that lines. I will get the exact name next week when I go back. And they were talking about the race to the South Pole and how one guy, he prepared, he went through the scenario in his brain over and over and again, analyzed it from every angle, picked out all the details, and made necessary preparations. And then the other guy just sort of bull in a china shop. Okay, we need this much, we need this much supplies, we need this many people, and they just went. And it turns out that not only were they a month behind in planting their country's flag on the South Pole, they all died. They all died. And I just thought, details, man, details. It's all in the details. I literally did one of my shorter episodes all about details because I truly believe that details are the key to life. And here's the same scenario. When I was making $11 an hour and I was doing more than I was compensated for, I was paying attention to all the details. And how do we do that? How do we pay attention to details? How do we notice things that other people don't notice? And the key to that is really breath, man. It's breath. It's breath, and it's paying attention, because the breath's going to bring you back to yourself. Because most of us, as we're going through our daily tasks, whether it's work or stuff with the kids or the family or whatever your day-to-day is, you're not actually mentally involved in what you're doing. You're mentally involved in what happened yesterday, what's going to happen tomorrow, what you're upset about or what you're excited about, and all these different things going through your brain, but you're not actually focusing on the task. Now, two things happen when you breathe. I used to turn it into a game. That's a trick. That worked for me. And I'm not, acting like it's some huge level up here, but it could be something that may be beneficial to, your work life. Is like when I was doing things with my hand, mundane tasks, I start going, how fast can I do it? Or how efficient can I do it? Or can I do it better than I did yesterday? And then this game kept me mentally going, but kept me in the flow of what I was actually doing. And between that and going back to the breath, I was focusing on what I was doing. Now, here's what happens when you're in the breath, when you're in the moment. You start noticing, because now you're thinking about the task. You're spending mental energy on the actual task rather than thinking, once again, what's happening tomorrow, what you did yesterday, and all these things. You're going to start noticing details that other people are not noticing, and it's going to give you the edge, man. The details are going to give you the edge. It's like how these police officers and military and FBI, I'll stop there. They teach these powers of observation. The person that could walk into the room and sit down at a restaurant and then retell you what everyone was wearing, what the people close to them were talking about, and all these sorts of things, And I'm not saying to use it to that level. I mean, you can, and I'm sure it would be ultimately beneficial, but you have to balance the energy expenditures. So for me, it's like if I'm in a restaurant, I want to be aware of like who's coming and going, and like who's people maybe speaking out loud or maybe standing up. That's the things I'm paying attention to make sure that everything's safe and secure for me and mine. But I'm not going in and listening to conversations and seeing what people are wearing and all these sort of things. But I'm definitely paying attention to the basics. And that's the thing, like I was talking about with the judgments, where we have to use our mental clarity to mitigate the energy expenditures. So it's like, if I'm making judgments, I have to make judgments to guide my family in the right directions, but I want to stop there. because all that's wasted nonsense. It's unnecessary movement. I was going to say this talking about traffic. In Florida here, you have a lot. I'm glad that it's a time of year where a lot of people left, not because I want them to leave. Florida, please enjoy, but the traffic is why. And before they left, and still I notice a lot of speeders and in and outers. And you've all seen this. You're on a highway and you see the person that constantly shifting lanes, and then 5-10 miles down the line you're right next to them again, or you're headed down a road that has red lights, and these people are in and out, in and out, in and out, and then you end up next to them at the red light. So all that unnecessary movement really got them nowhere. So we have to mitigate that thought process, and stop all the unnecessary movement, So when we go from judgment, okay, boom, made a judgment, now let's quit. And then the same thing, when we sit down in a restaurant, we go to the public place, like, okay, boom, 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 safe, secure, okay, sit, level down, and focus attention on the actual conversation or the meal, making sure I'm chewing appropriately and all those things. Because if you go on and on and on about all these things, you're never going to streamline, your energy and your focus. But it is very important to do this. And I know it can seem complicated, but the way to do it is through the Holy Trinity of spiritual and emotional wellness. Prayer, yoga, and meditation, man. The meditation will give you clarity where others don't. So not only are you now making judgments based upon logic, not emotion, and you're making observations based upon pragmatism, not judgments. Now you're doing all this with a sense of clarity. You're seeing things as they are. You're seeing what's needed, and you're only doing that. And that's going to level you up. But back to the guy in the details. I told you they died, and the one that made it then to the details, planted a flag. So that's what we're doing. And let's skip back here a little bit and see what we got. Rabbit holes. I'm going to talk about rabbit holes. We were talking about Cain and Abel and how Cain committed murder based upon this premise that he was done wrong, that there was injustice by God to him. And the reason why he took it to that extreme, because he gave energy and emotion to that thought. He continually went down that rabbit hole. He spiraled into that thought like it was an obsession. And that's how things manifest in our lives. And a lot of times we don't realize it. It's like we're going down these deep, dark rabbit holes of thought, and it's not accomplishing anything. So one thing that I like to do to mitigate that and to flip it back to the positive and be going down rabbit holes of positivity is a practice that I learned in the Master Key System, Charles F. Hennell. I do it a little differently. He was talking about a scenario where you would look at a blank wall, like, these walls are white, and I would just look. And then you would imagine a line, and then you would imagine the line until you saw the line, and then you would imagine the line until you could change the color of it mentally, and then it went from there. And it's sort of like the submarine practice that he also taught, where he goes, okay, well, you can see the top of the submarine like you'd see the tip of an iceberg, but what lies underneath is a huge ship full of men, full of computers, full of equipment. And where did these things come from? Back to the factory and the place of origin for the materials and all those things. It's going down, it's rewinding that thought process. And this here is the same, except it's sort of going forward. And to me, I believe it enhances our ability to create our future. So instead of the line, I do during my breath meditation, I just do whatever I'm looking at. Like a lot of times I'm sitting, I'm breathing, I'm meditating, and then I do my breath, and then there's a part where you hold, and then when I hold, I'll open my eyes, and I'll directly stare forward, and whatever I see, I'll pick it. Like yesterday, it was just a dot. It was just a speck in the wall. And what I'll do, I'll just go, that's the only speck that exists. It's focusing your thoughts and all your brain and willpower on one singular thing. And in this case, it's a dot. But you can obviously apply this to other things in your life to give yourself that tunnel vision for victory. So I'm staring at the dot, and it's just a dot, and then it's a ball, and then it's an eyeball, and then it's a ball that this other wall monster creature is playing with, and then it's a pinhole rip in the tear of the fabric of reality, and you see how the imagination just grows and grows and grows, and pretty soon it gets that deep. And that is the way that we can focus our imagination in our life. And they say this when manifesting, like, okay, for me, I want a farm. You guys know I have a farm. I'm still in a rental. I have a container full of vegetables out there, grow bags full of stuff, because that's my thing, man. I fully believe that today's day and age, you hear people talk about real estate investments, crypto, digital, all this stuff. I don't think any of that is the major level up. I don't think any of that is the major investment. If you want to get rich, yeah, have at it. Try, and more power to you. But my goal, and it's one of my problems with Andrew Tate, is like, I love Andrew Tate. I listen to him. He motivates me, and that's why I love him. And I know I don't always agree with everything that he says. I certainly don't agree with the obnoxiousness of which he says it. But I do agree with the content. But one of the things that you have to get rich, you have to get rich, you have to get rich. But to me, it's like, why am I getting rich if money no longer means anything? You see inflation's at an all-time high, and you think it's going to stop? Maybe, maybe not. You prepare money, you keep money, you go down that route. But the real investment is time, energy, and effort on becoming more sustainable to you, your family, and less on corporations and government. That means, to me, learning how to fish, learning how to hunt, learning how to raise chickens, learning how to grow my own food, learning how to collect and clean water and things of that nature. And that's what I'm certainly working on. But the rabbit hole of imagination, as it relates to that, or anything that you're trying to do in this world, is like, I've went over it mentally in my mind a million times. So just like that dot that's turning into all these magnificent things, this farm, or whatever your focus of manifestation is, wherever you want to be in life, wherever you want to go in life, whatever you want to create in this world, whatever you want to build, whatever job you want to do, however you want your family to be, find it, hold on to it, and just continually ponder on it, man. You go, you do day-to-day things, but continually bring it back. Don't be wavering. That's another problem with manifestation, is people waver. They want this, they want that, and then it changes. So your subconscious and the universe don't know what to give you, man. But when you focus on the same dream, you focus on the same goal, and the key point here is that it's not going to happen in your time. It's not going to happen when you think you deserve it. It's not going to happen when you think it should happen, because let me tell you something. I thought this thing was happening 2 years ago, and here we are 2 years later, and I'm still growing out of grow bags and containers and all these things. But I'm not going to let go of my dream, man. I'm going to focus on it like that dot. I'm going to imagine it. I'm going to see it in epic detail in every little aspect of what it is and how I want to do it, man. And that's what's going to create the dream, man. And I'll get it when I get it, because I'm not changing. I'm not wavering. I'm continually focusing on that dot, man. That's the only dot that exists. That's all there is for me. Boom. And create your tunnel vision in that way for whatever you want to do, man. But don't let them tell you that because you're an adult, you're not supposed to have an imagination. It's something that we can learn from children, or having children. A lot of times, you learn more from them than they learn from you. It certainly is a back and forth scenario. And I also think that's important in any relationship, to have that receptivity. It's something that I learned when I embraced the feminine aspect of who I am, because we all have that within us, whether man or female. You have the aspect of the other. You have the duality. You have the balances at play within your system. And when I was purely focused on the manly, the aggression, I'm a Leo, the fire, I certainly seen a lot of death and destruction in my life. But when I was able to become more open-minded and more receptive, and exploring relationships with humans, nature, animals, in a receptive way, that I'm not always giving, I'm not always forcing my agenda, I'm not always pushing, I'm learning how to settle and relax and be open and receptive to new ideas, receptive to new ways of doing things, receptive to what my kids are telling me, receptive to what my wife is telling me, receptive to what my mom is telling me, because all in all, it makes me a better human being. I don't have to accept it. And this is going further, like into your job, into your work relationships, into your relationships with friends and family and spouses, and all these things, all the people and plants and animals that you come across within this world. It's like if you're open-minded and you're receptive to that relationship and you're not all force, you're definitely going to learn some really amazing things. And it doesn't mean that you have to take all these things to heart. I hear all these things all the time, and the people, I don't like him, or I don't like her, or I don't like this, and I don't like that. It's like, no, I may just not agree with everything they're saying, but I listen, because it's important to listen to people that you disagree with, because it either confirms you in your belief, or you see some counter sides, or at least you understand where they're coming from. So that receptivity is ultimately to your benefit in being a learning, teachable human being. And it's important to be teachable your whole entire life, man. Not only do you stop imagining when you get older, you stop being able to be taught. And that's a detriment to society. That's a detriment to one of our biggest pieces of value in our society, which are our elders and our people that are of military age, 20 to 30, and then, guys in the middle like me, 40 and 50. But if we continue to be open-minded, if we continue to be receptive, we can continue to being teachable, then we can teach more and we could learn more, and life could be better for everyone, man. So maintain that receptivity within your relationships, but also don't feel like you have to take it to heart or take it to truth or make it your own. It's just hearing people out, hearing the world out, hearing nature out, taking it, rolling it around a bit, and letting it go. It's not for you. And if it is for you, maybe you learn something today. And that's an amazing thing, man. They say learn a little something every day, and you'll live a good life. So the next thing I want to talk about, we're going to round it up here pretty soon. I got a lot of things to do. This is my first one back with you guys, man. I'm giving it to you. I hope that you're appreciating this. I've been off my game a little bit, man, but it's consistency, right? I put a couple episodes out there just trying to feed the people, man, and explore vulnerability, explore how I was feeling, explore going through the struggle, going through adversity, but still showing up, like we were talking about earlier, that relentlessness. Despite how I was feeling, and despite if I wasn't on my A game, I'm sure you guys noticed, still showing up, man. That consistency is really showing people what they need to see about you. It really is. So talking about all that and having these things, Tony Spencer, my boy, he just says, if I know I have to do all these things to be good, right, and I know I have to do this, then it just becomes all these things in my mind. It's constantly things. I have to do this, that, and third, or I'm feeling not okay, man. Like if I wake up and I don't pray, or I don't meditate, or I don't exercise, if I schedule those things for that day, or I don't take the cold shower, which, I still hate it. It's not fun. I don't enjoy doing it. I do it because I know that it increases my performance in the things that I do, whether it's my workout, whether it's here talking to you on Creating Greatness podcast. So these things can very quickly become, just things that you have to do. And if you set it in your mind a certain way, the things that you have to do will bother you if you don't do them. Now, for most people, it's, how to raise the bar. For most people, it's like their kids. Like obviously people, most people wouldn't neglect their kids. So it's like no matter how they're feeling or what they're going through, they get up and take care of their children. And that's a basic life responsibility that in my opinion must be handled. But how do you raise the bar? It's like, I know that if I don't pray or meditate or exercise, that I won't be a good person, or at least I will not be escalating. I'll be declining, and it's my purpose is to continually be escalating to the time I expire. That's what Creating Greatness is all about. But sometimes I think like, man, how do I raise the bar? How do I then start feeling bad about bigger things? And I know that can seem a little crazy, but I mean, is there something that you do, that you make yourself do, that is for the best, that if you shirk your responsibility and do not do it, will it eat at you? Because that's what I'm talking about. And then how do you raise the bar to bigger stuff? It's like, please hit me up, Creating Greatness Podcast at Gmail, and let me know any tips, tricks, or techniques that you have in your arsenal or your toolkit to raise the bar to make like, okay, this is the next level. I think it's an important part to say. I don't really have an answer here. That's why I'm asking for your feedback. But I think it's an important part to explore. to explore, because I thought about it today when I was doing the breath work. I like Wim Hof breathing. I do it, and it's taught by a man named Aaron of Om Som Yoga, OMSOM Yoga. It used to be Level Up Yoga. That's how I found him. I was just typing in YouTube like Level Up, and this guy came up. He's doing this Wim Hof breathing. And I was doing it, and I was thinking, man, now this is a non-negotiable. Remember, we talked about that. Non-negotiables and deal breakers. It's two very powerful words to have in your vocabulary. First of all, a deal breaker is to save, is to protect you. If I go into any situation, if they do this, if they act this way, if they talk to me in this way, if they want to do things this way, then that's all deal breakers, because it goes against me and my morals and how I want to be in this world, and you need to have those deal breakers and stand on your own your two firm feet, especially when your morals or ethics are questioned, because that's really what makes our character and our integrity two of the most important things in this world. And then also non-negotiables. I always talk about my tricks of using this in my mind. It's like, I'll go the night before, I'm already starting with the things I must do. And I go, all right, I'm going to have to wake up, to a cold shower. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do this and that. I go, okay, well, these 3 things are non-negotiables. The rest depends on how you're feeling. And when I set those non-negotiables, man, I do them. So now I'm trying to figure out a bigger trick on how to raise the bar, man. How to make more, bigger, better things, non-negotiables in my life, man. So once again, Creating Greatness Podcast at Gmail. Hit me up with your tips and tricks on that. And I'll say the last one that I have is definitely exploring, because like I was talking about the Wim Hof, the breathing, it became a non-negotiable, and I found it through exploration. So also hit me up on the podcast or social media, King Comebacks with 2 Ks, just how it is on the screen or it's over there. With any new like meditations that you have or affirmations or breathing techniques, because, I'm looking to shake things up, man. I think shaking things up are important, not only in your physical activity in the gym to keep everything fresh and keep shocking and surprising your muscles, but also in your practices, man, because I feel like that's when you make breakthroughs. And I can remember when I started that Wim Hof breathing, man, it was a huge level up for me, where I was talking about it all the time, because I noticed increased mood, increased performance, working out harder, longer, being happier, more motivated, and all these things just from breath. Once again, people, the answers are super, super simple. Clean water, clean air. You get the clean water through filtration or distilling. You get the clean air through having houseplants. I got an aloe plant right there. Clean food, fresh and raw vegetables, that way you're getting that vital nutrients to the system. But the level ups are really simple. And that's where we're going to go with that. So exploring, I found that Wim Hof, and now I'm looking for something new, man. I'm looking for something new. And I think if you do that in your life, if you ever get stagnated, where you're not leveling up, you're hitting that point where you're just leveling off and you're not ascending, explore a little, try some new stuff. You may go through some flops. It's just like I tell my old lady, we go to restaurants and sometimes we go to bad ones, because I like going to this place new. And she go, well, we go to this place, we went there, it's great. And I go, I want to try something new. It might be bad. I've had so many bad meals, or even the same restaurant, different food. You go, I had this hard time. I know it's great, but I'm gonna try that. And that's the whole thing with life. Sometimes you're gonna get a dud. You're gonna get a dud experience. You're gonna get a dud meal. You're gonna get, but I don't know. It depends on your preferences, I guess. If you love living a life of comfort and things that are nostalgic and things that are comforting, and they're good, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But to me, I've only experienced this growth, in muscle, in thought process, in spirituality, when I've shaken things up, when I've did things a little differently, when I've done something new. And a lot of times, in the course of doing that, you experience some failures. But also, as in everything with life, your failures can be your lessons if you pay damn attention to them and don't doom and gloom. Oh, poor me, why can't I ever win? No, the people that win are failing more than they win. I promise you. People only pay attention to the wins. It was Steve Harvey talking about Jordan, who took astronomical amount of last minute or last second shots, and the percentage of the ones that he made was nothing out of this world. But no one ever talks about that, because the guy was a champion, one of the best that ever did it, and they talk about the wins, man. But if you don't think, just like Kobe talks about his training and his work ethic, and how this guy was just in the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning and all these things, he was failing a lot of times during those sessions, is why he wasn't failing on the court, because he ran to this scenario a million times. He's done it 100 times, and all the failures worked themselves out in the practice field, man. So let's pay attention to our failures and make sure we're using them as lessons. That way we do not repeat the same mistakes again. We are going to fail again. You know, that's almost inevitable. But are we failing in the same exact way? Because that's a true failure to me. You know, as long as you're failing in new, different, and maybe exciting ways, that's ultimate success. And that's how we learn to rack up these wins. And the wins are the things they pay attention to. But at the same time, forget what they're thinking, man. Win for yourself, win for your family, and that will create a powerful scenario in your brain of serotonin and dopamine and testosterone and all that. And the steam gets going. The ball gets rolling downhill. And as the snow rolls downhill, it picks up a volume and it gets bigger and it grows. And if you're doing it the right way, as you get bigger, you can get better. And that's what we're focusing on here, on creating greatness, man. And yeah, I think we had a good episode, man. I mean, 45 minutes in, I'm feeling pretty good about the content that I give y'all today, man. You know, once again, I apologize about maybe the subpar episodes or the lack thereof. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that I'm back here with you guys. I wanted to make sure that you know that it's okay to fall off. I wanted to make sure that you know that it's okay to be sad. I wanted to make sure you know it's okay to not be okay every day. But I do want you to know that it's not okay not to show up. It's not okay, man. You know, we are the leaders of our community, men, women, humans. We are the leaders. We are the structural foundation of our families, of our communities, of our organizations that we're part of and beyond. And despite how we feel, despite how things are going in that moment, we have to continually show up, and we need to show up for our families and our communities and organizations and all these things. But most of all, you need to show up for yourself. My name is Robert Prash. It's Creating Greatness.